Oh my goodness, I haven't done a vlog in a million years, so I've probably forgotten how to do it. Hope you're all doing okay. My name is Jen Grieves, and if you're new here, this YouTube channel is all about figuring out the messiness of day-to-day life with type 1 diabetes. And I thought I'd do a day in the life in this current weird situation as we're currently in lockdown due to the global pandemic, and kind of just talk you through how I'm dealing with that in terms of my blood sugars and my type 1 diabetes in general and my overall health, I guess. I was going to do it last week, but to be honest, I had one of those really weird weeks where, well, I just couldn't sleep and I just felt really run down and tired. Although I was being quite productive in the day, I just didn't have the capacity to articulate my thoughts, especially when it came to my type 1 diabetes, because a lot of the time it is quite baffling and it doesn't make a lot of sense, and last week felt like one of those weeks for me. I've got a fair bit to do today, despite not currently actually having a job because of the global pandemic, but I am launching series 2 of my type 1-on-1 diabetes podcast, and I announced that yesterday, and the first episode's going live next week. Oh, hello, my tummy is rumbling. So I've got quite a bit to do in terms of signing off sponsor audio and things like that, and I've got a record later today with a guest, so that'll be fun. I'll just take you through my day, how my blood sugars are doing, and what I'm eating, because that's never far from my mind, and hopefully it's, you know, fun for you to come along with me. So it's 10 o'clock right now, which is a little bit late for me, but I was up really late last night doing some work. I always do that. I get so focused in the dead of night and it's really not helpful for my sleep patterns, but I get so much done. I've got a few bits to send off before 10:30 when an Instagram live is happening with one of my favourite accounts, Dancebox Official. I found her a while ago, and I used to dance loads as a kid and I completely stopped doing it, and it's something I've been reconnecting with in lockdown and I absolutely love it. The woman who runs the account, Alana, is amazing. Her spirit is so infectious, her vibe, her energy. Oh, I'm just going to switch my hand because it's shaking. I've been moving a fair bit because it's important to me and it's also really helping with my blood sugars. But the workouts my gym was sending were very slick, pre-recorded, quite clinical and a bit, you know, soulless. And these dance workouts, I feel like I'm really connecting with someone because I'm isolating on my own. I've been here on my own for like 7-8 weeks now. So it's just such a good way of starting my day. I've got a few emails to send before we do that. And I'm sure this dance class is going to be super entertaining for you because I am so rusty. But first, coffee. Welcome to my lockdown office. This is where we keep all the light in my flat. I bought this little desk when we went into lockdown and I'm so happy I did. So you saw this morning my blood sugar was around 7.5, which is pretty good for me. That's fine. I had a tiny amount of insulin, as you saw, and that was basically to counteract any dawn phenomenon that I get, which spikes your blood glucose up, so I didn't want to tip into a high blood glucose. That's just your body preparing itself for the day. You get a release of cortisol, and that's an evolutionary thing, I think, where you wake up and you're ready to go out and hunt or gather or protect your family or whatever. So that's very normal for me, and hopefully that little bit of insulin I had that you saw will stop that spike going too high. I had an alarm-free night, which for me I'll take as absolutely winning at the moment. So no high blood sugars, no low blood sugars, just a beep-free slumber. So long may that continue.
Nothing can waver you. Nothing can rock you. You are queens and kings.
Oh my god, I am so sweaty. That was so much fun. My hair was absolutely flying all around in my face, but I loved it. It's just so empowering. Definitely check her out if you are in need of a bit of like a lift. I was exercising there for about an hour, but obviously it was stop-start because it was a dance routine that we had to learn. It's so much fun. You don't have to be a dancer. You don't have to really even get the steps right. It's just about going with it and feeling the music. So I had a feeling this was going to happen. That time in range was short-lived. My Dexcom was beeping sleeping there, and this happens a lot when I exercise in the morning and go from kind of doing nothing to suddenly jumping around. I think again it's that cortisol. My body feels like something mad is happening, so I got a little tiny increase in my blood sugar. I had set an increased temp basal before I started the class because I had a feeling that was going to happen, but it obviously wasn't enough. So I'm just going to have a couple of units of insulin now, but I know that later on my insulin sensitivity is going to be higher, and I've got my kind of my metabolism going. So overall, that class is going to really benefit me, but in the short term, there's a bit more I have to deal with. And I know that's a thing that people kind of get really apprehensive about when they first start exploring exercise with type 1 diabetes. And it's just a case of practicing and finding out how your body responds to different kind of exercises at different times of the day. And yeah, just finding out how your body adapts and interacts and responds. So first of all, I'm going to sit down and take a look at my blood sugar and figure out what it's up to, and have a couple of units of insulin, probably more than a correction dose, so that once all that starts working and my insulin sensitivity kicks in and everything, my blood sugar will start to come down in time for lunchtime and put me in a good place to eat something, which will hopefully prevent a spike on the other side, which is always nice. First of all though, I'm gonna have a shower because I'm disgusting. So this is my blood sugar right now. So I'm just sitting ever so slightly out of range, which is fine. This is my last 24 hours, so I had a lovely smooth night there, and I've just tipped up ever so slightly. I think from, yeah, as I mentioned, the cortisol from exercising and jumping about. All of a sudden my body didn't know what on earth was happening. So I'm just gonna have a couple of units and hopefully bring that down, but I'm totally comfortable with that. As you can see, just a little bit stubborn here. That's slightly higher than I would like, but the line for the most part is pretty smooth. This is my friend Amy, who was diagnosed with type 1 at the end of last year, and this picture is her having inserted her first Freestyle Libre, which she was really nervous about, and now she's absolutely rocking those gadgets. So I got my Dexcom out in solidarity, and she sent me this card the other day with this little photograph inside it. How cute is that? Anyway, I digress. Yes, I have sort of done my face and done my hair, even though I'm not leaving the house, and that I just find gets me in the zone. I've got a podcast interview this afternoon, and I take it very seriously because I think for people to click on the podcast and give me their precious time and give it a listen, I want to make sure it's as good as it can be. So I tend to get dressed most days, obviously, but I make sure that if I'm doing something profesh, that I feel profesh as well, and it just helps me get in the mindset and focus. And yeah, I think you're a bit wonky here. Let's just try and fix this. There we go. Okay, so blood sugar update. Right, so that's absolutely done its job. Hold for siren. Oh my goodness. I think something's kicking off. So as you can see, I had 2 units of insulin, and that has glided my blood sugar right on down. It's 1 o'clock now, so I'm going to think about lunch. And this is actually quite early for me. I haven't eaten yet because I think I've mentioned this in a few other videos. I actually practice intermittent fasting, so I tend to eat from around 2 or 3 o'clock every day, and I'll eat within kind of a 6-hour window, and it helps me for loads of things. I just think it's the way I was designed to eat. It really, really suits me. It suits my blood sugars, it suits my general health and well-being. I love it, basically. So it is a bit early, but I've got a podcast record with my guest at 7:30 tonight, and I want to eat before I do that because otherwise it's going to be 9:30 or 10 before I eat my dinner. I think us as type 1 diabetics are really, really, really skilled at thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead. Am I right? So I'm going to eat now at 1 and then probably eat around 5, maybe 6 o'clock. So that's how I roll. I feel like I had something else to tell you, but we'll come back to that. Okay, so I'm gonna have this half a sweet potato that I had left in the fridge. I'm trying to use everything up and not waste as much as possible, and also go to the shops as little as possible because of what's going on at the moment. And because of what's going on at the moment and the fact that I'm not doing all of my usual running around, I'm being quite careful most of the time about the types of carbs that I eat, in terms of still eating carbs, but the ones I know that my body can handle a little bit better in terms of the effect it has on my blood sugar. And I know that sweet potato for me seems to just work better in my body than white potatoes, white pasta, white bread, things like that. So very happy to have this. I just weighed it, which I don't always do, because I guess over the years I've just got better at guesstimating and kind of calculating in my head how much something might need in terms of insulin requirements. I've obviously already got a bit of insulin on board because that insulin I had earlier was almost a pre-lunch bolus, a preemptive lunch bolus, so that's working away as well. So I don't want to have too much because then I'll risk going hypo, and I know that that dance class as well, I'll get the kind of metabolism kick a few hours later. So lots of things to be considering whenever a type 1 diabetic wants to put food in their face, and don't we all know it? So I'm going to have this with some eggs and make sure it's a nice filling, nourishing and yummy lunch. Okay, so that was super quick to make and looks great. It's all the sort of foods I love. I added some sunflower seeds on there for texture and some tahini. Probably should shut the window, shouldn't I, before I start filming. So I've got sweet potato, 2 eggs, sun-dried tomatoes, mushrooms, spinach, curry powder for a bit of flavour, loads of pepper. I'm obsessed with salt, well, less salt, loads of pepper, and then yeah, sunflower seeds on the top for the crunch. So I'm gonna dig in. It's really quick, really nutritious, very filling, and it's the kind of food that makes me feel good. So what's not to love? Back working at the desk of joy. It's my podcast mic, it's where all the magic happens. So I had a bit of a fail. Actually, do you know what? I'm not gonna call it a fail because we're working so bloody hard with diabetes. I just don't think it's helpful to say that that was a failure. But basically, I dipped ever so slightly into a hypo there. Just after I'd finished eating, it dipped below the in-range line there. So I obviously got a little bit too trigger happy with the dosing before I went for my shower and left it too long before I ate. But I knew I'd eaten all that sweet potato carbohydrate. So I just had to sit tight, and actually it's starting to bounce back now, and that is hopefully gonna sit nicely in the grey area there, the shaded time in range area, the nirvana of type 1 diabetes blood sugars. The temptation when you see that hypo, or certainly for me a lot of the time, is to switch off all my basals and go and get the juice, but I knew I'd eaten and I knew that carbohydrate was going to kick in, so I just had to trust my decisions, and it's bounced out of there really quickly. So I'm happy with that, and probably now it's going to shoot up the other way and go too high, but we'll see what happens. You know, I've just worked with what I thought was the best decision making and took action based on that, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's just a day in the life of someone with type 1 diabetes. So I've been working away for a couple of hours now, and I just want to show you this, and I'm pretty happy with that. So despite my earlier dip, I'm calling that a success. I'm thinking about going out for a walk because it's such a beautiful day. The only thing I want to look out for is that I've still got a little bit of insulin on board, so I will just keep an eye on that in case my blood sugar starts to dip, because we're not really near dinner time yet. And if that happens, particularly on my walk, I will probably just put on a reduced basal for a little while to hopefully try and prevent that hypo. It's all a case of make a decision and cross your fingers, isn't it? But that is life with type 1 diabetes. If you're struggling with maybe some frustration around your own decision making, or just struggling in general at the moment because of what's going on, or just struggling full stop with living with type 1 diabetes, I am with you. It is ongoing, isn't it? It never stops. So yeah, we're all in this together, even if we may currently all be quite apart. It is not easy, and I think we're all superheroes for dealing with the beast that is type 1 diabetes every day and keeping ourselves alive. From my little government approved walk around East London, I'm so happy I went out. It's such a beautiful day and it was just nice to get a bit of air, although a lot of people seem to have relaxed their idea of social distancing, which isn't great. My blood sugars now are at 4.3. So they've been really nice and steady all afternoon, and that little walk I think has just tipped them down. I'm probably going to have a gulp of fruit juice just to stop myself from dropping into a hypo and avoid that kind of blood sugar that we saw at lunchtime. I'm pretty happy with how they've been today though, and that's no bad thing. I am going to eat dinner quite soon. It's 6 o'clock because I want to make sure I leave plenty of time for my interview in a bit. And my interview is with the lovely Dave Sowerby, who I just looked back this afternoon. I've known him from the diabetes online community for nearly 10 years. That is wild. This community is so amazing. He's definitely one of the first people I remember interacting with on Twitter when I first started writing about type 1 on my blog, and it's just crazy to think that that was 10 years ago, and the amazing interactions I've had since then. It's been invaluable, so invaluable. So yeah, there are good things out there that come from this type 1 life. They're few and far between, but the community is definitely one of them, and that includes you lovely lot as well. So I'm gonna go and make dinner, take some time, make something yummy, and yeah, get very excited about food again. Okay, so I've got some good looking ingredients there. I'm going for like a salmon, coconut, aubergine, spinach, curry-esque vibe. So I've got some tamarind, ginger, garlic, fish sauce, smells like death, tastes amazing once it's cooked. That all looks pretty good to me, and I'm gonna put noodles with it. These are rice noodles. And again, I've just found them to be a little bit more easy to handle than other types of noodle. I'm making 2 portions there, and I'll keep the rest for tomorrow. But it should be a nice, hearty, flavoursome, delicious dinner. I love spending a bit of time on dinner and listening to a podcast and just bopping around the kitchen. I find it very therapeutic now that we've got a bit more time and I'm not in a rush so much. Also, I should say that I normally would bolus now for all of this and then start cooking, because I don't think this will take long, maybe like 15 minutes or so, but because my blood sugar is on the low side, I'm just gonna hold off a little bit. I don't want to get a big post-meal spike, so I do need to allow for my insulin to start kicking in before I tuck into the food. So I don't want to wait too long, but I am just conscious that my blood sugar's a little bit lower than I would like. I did have that juice, I had a little bit more than I showed you. I didn't realise there was absolutely nothing left in that carton. But yeah, I should be fine because I've kind of treated it, but just sort of goes to show I'm approaching this very differently from the way I approached lunch, because obviously before lunch my blood sugars were on the higher side and now I'm at the opposite end, so I do have to take my insulin slightly differently.
It's about respecting yourself instead of catering to your insecure need for feeling.
Can we have a minute? I'm really happy with that and very excited to tuck in. I had my insulin about 5 minutes after I started cooking, and fingers crossed we will avoid a hypo. I only bolused for the noodles, which I think was about 35 grams of carbohydrate, and I bolused for 30. I just feel like my insulin sensitivity is doing okay at the moment, and yeah, I didn't want to risk another hypo. But all that I can focus on now is that plate of food there, so I'm going to go and tuck in. Don't mind me, just gone for a little something sweet, a little bit of something. It's just blueberries, banana and natural yogurt. I'm not going to bolus for it because I feel like I'm maybe at risk of dropping. Those rice noodles just haven't given me any kind of blood sugar spike in the way that I expected them to. So I'm just going to have this to make sure I don't drop into a hypo while I'm interviewing. Oh, good. How inspiring for you as well. Here's a little sneaky peek into the world of podcasting. I've got my 2 bedroom pillows there just so that they absorb some of the sound as I'm talking, and then the recording sounds less echoey. Interview done. That was such a lovely chat. Dave is so nice, and on a selfish level it was just really nice to speak to him. My blood sugars are currently here, so 9.4. Pretty stable. That upward curve is very, very steady, having eaten a bowl of noodles. So I'm really, really happy with that, although it's technically out of range at the moment. With a blood sugar like that, I feel like hopefully I won't go hypo in the night, etc. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with how that meal worked out. I think it's time to leave this one here. I hope I haven't waffled on. I definitely have. Sorry about that. But I hope you've enjoyed this day in the life of a type 1 diabetic in lockdown. Very unusual circumstances at the moment. A very different way of existing than normal, although what is normal? Who knows? Let me know if you've enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up, and then I know I'm on the right lines. It's been so long since I've done a vlog. Lord knows how this edit's going to turn out. I shall see you all very soon. I hope you're all coping okay, doing okay, existing in lockdown. As you've seen, I'm still learning, 24 years into life with type 1 diabetes, so don't give yourself a hard time if things aren't going quite as you would like them at the moment, or ever in fact. And I shall see you all very soon. Take care. Bye.